Hey, in this video, we're going to be talking about rotational forms of kinetic energy and the fact that when something is spinning, each piece is moving, but it's moving at different speeds, so we can't use our traditional 1/2 mv squared. We got to talk about the energy of the different parts moving at different speeds, and we call that total the rotational kinetic energy of an object. All right, so now we're going to be visiting rotational kinetic energy. And so let's just kind of get a big picture of what's happening here is if you have something that's spinning, right, with an angular velocity, let's just say like a solid disk here. The thing is like there's kinetic energy because remember, every single piece here is moving at a different speed, right? There's like a speed here. Every little chunk of mass has a velocity vector there. And so there's a whole bunch of 1/2 mv squareds that you can add up. Now, because it's spinning, we know the angular speed is the same, but the velocities are actually going to be different for it, right? The ones on the end are going to move faster than the ones closer to the center, right? And so the energy is not going to be the same. So you could chop it up into little pieces and calculate it, integrate it if you do calculus to get the total amount of kinetic energy. But someone's already done that for you, and that's where the rotational inertia gets to come into play. So when it's spinning, even if the object isn't moving, like the center of mass isn't moving, it can still have kinetic energy from the spinning. So the rotational kinetic energy it's when it's spinning around the axis, right? And this is where we're going to use this formula 1/2 I omega squared. I think I have the formula in the next, or I just left out the notes here. The translational kinetic energy is the kinetic energy when the center of mass is moving. We call that 1/2 mv squared. That's what we did in unit 3, right? So an object can have both rotational kinetic energy and translational kinetic energy, like a ball rolling down a hill is both moving and spinning around its axis. It can have one of them, like a pulley, which just spins, but the center mass doesn't move, or it can have just translational, which is just sliding or moving, but is not spinning at all, right? We still use our normal energy principles. Like the problem-solving process isn't any different. We think about work is the change in energy, and we think about what forces are doing the work. So overall, our Unit 3 problem-solving process is not going to be any different. Like we're still going to apply it here. The only thing we're going to include is this other kind of kinetic energy, the rotational kinetic energy. So let's get into like an example here. So baseball pitcher throws a ball in motion where there's rotation in the forearm about the elbow joint as well as other movements. If the linear velocity of the ball relative to the elbow joint is 20 meters, so he's saying like this, pretend this is an arm and this is a glove here, right? And we're swinging around and this is the ball, right? The linear velocity relative to the elbow joint is 20 meters per second at a distance of, and what's that distance here, is 0.48 meters. And the rotational inertia of the forearm, this I, is equal to 0.5. What's the rotational kinetic energy of the forearm? Okay, so we're just talking about this forearm here, and we want to think about the 1/2 I omega squared, right? So they gave us the I. We need to figure out what the omega is. Well, they gave us the linear velocity at the end, and so this is rotating, right? He's like swinging his arm, so it's rotating around this elbow area. And so he's rotating around, and so this is the V at the end, and we know V is equal to R omega. So the omega is equal to V over R, which we could say is 20 divided by 0.48, because that's the distance to the axis of rotation there. And we're going to plug that into here. So we're going to have 1/2 times 0.5 times 20 divided by 0.48 squared. That would be the rotational kinetic energy. So 0.5 times 0.5 times 20 divided by 0.48 squared, and I end up with 434 joules. Okay. Let's look at an example where we use the work energy process. So that's a calculation of kinetic energy. Let's see where we use maybe the work energy process. So we have a stick of length 1 meter, mass 6 kilograms, free to rotate about the horizontal axis through the center. Small bodies are attached to the two ends. The stick is released from the horizontal position. The rotational inertia of the stick is here. What is the angular velocity of the stick when it swings through the vertical? So first of all, what is our system? This is going to be a work energy process. We clearly have a change in height. So we want to include the earth. So we're just going to include everything. We're going to include the stick plus the bodies plus the earth. Why the earth? Because we have a change in height, and so we should think about that. So now we want to draw our free body diagrams. So we're going to have gravity. And then the stick has a mass too, also of 6 kilogram. And then there's an axial force. Now, and that's it, right? None of these forces do work because we've included the Earth in our system. And the axial force isn't going to do any work because it's not moving, right? The displacement is 0. The axial is just staying right there. So not going to move. So we know the work is 0, right? So therefore, the change in energy is going to be 0. So now we want to think about the energy at each of the states, the energy we have at this state. So what we want to think about is all the forms of energy. So right now it's at rest, so there's no kinetic energy, but there may be gravitational potential energy depending on where we put our h equals 0. Now remember, my suggestion is always make the lowest point h equals 0. That way the potential energy is always positive, but you could make any other point h equals 0 if you want, right? What's the distance from here to here? It's half the length of the stick, because this length of the stick is 0.5 meter, is 1 meter. So this is 0.5 meters. So the initial energy is we have 2, the total mass, and they're all at the same height. We'll just do 2g times 0.5 plus the mass of the stick itself, right? That's 6g times 0.5. And then this is, I'm just doing mgh, 4g times 0.5. And we'll just use g is equal to 10, and so we'll get a number here. So this is going to be 10, 30, so that's 40 plus 60 joules. Okay. Now at the final state, it now has an angular velocity, and everything's, there's different masses at different distances. So there's an angular velocity and some gravitational potential energy, right? Let's do the angular velocity first. So what is the rotational inertia of the system that we're talking about here? Is we have the 2 masses and the stick. So each mass has its mr squared. So it's 2, so mr squared for each of the point masses. So 2 times 0.5 squared. And then this is 4 times 0.5 squared. And then plus the rotational inertia of the actual stick itself, which is 3. And so let's just use a calculator for this. 0.5 squared times 2 plus 0.5 squared times 4 plus 3. And that's 4.5. So it's going to be 1/2 times 4.5 times omega squared. And what's the gravitational potential energy? Now, the 4 is still located at h equals 0, so it doesn't have any potential energy. The 6 kilogram stick is still located 0.5 meters away, but the 2 kilogram stick is now located 1 meter away above there, right? So mgh of everything here. So this is 1/2 times 4.5 omega squared plus, what is that? 30 plus 20, that's 50. And by conservation of energy, that equals 60. So we just solve for omega at this point. So it's going to be 10 times 2 divided by 4.5, and the square root of that, and we get 2.1 radians per second. Just like that, okay? If you found this video helpful, come check out our school community. It's got an amazing bunch of features. It's got extra videos, corrected videos, better than the ones that I have errors on YouTube. It's got multiple choice free response questions. I hold live Q&A sessions and go through more problems and I answer students' questions, help with schoolwork, all kinds of things. If you want to check it out, look in the description below or check out the website and find us in the school community. You get a 7-day free trial to give it a shot, just to check it out, see what it's like, come join some calls, and honestly, come learn AP Physics 1 even faster with us.